Good evening, folks. Or morning or afternoon or whatever time it is while you're watching this video. For me, it's definitely evening, hence the shitty yellow lighting. As soon as I get my new apothecary building done, that's gonna have like built-in like lighting all over the ceiling, and so that'll be pretty cool. But until then, we're making do with what we have. So it's the end of the year here in the Northern Hemisphere. I don't mean end of like, here's a new year, but I mean like end of like the growing season for the most part. We're creeping up on the first day of fall. And honestly, here in Northeast Oregon, the first day of fall, like feeling wise, was a while back. And so today was a final push for us to be harvesting our garden type medicines. Not to say that some of the stuff that grows there doesn't also grow in the wild, and I also harvest from the wild. But today was just a real huge push, and I thought, I hadn't taken my bra off yet. So I should probably make a video. I do have polar bear pajama pants on, but I think you'll forgive me. But I was like, wait. Let's do a video first, because you were going to be making this anyways, and that's how I do these videos, at least the ones in my apothecary. I'm like, you're already making this, videotape yourself doing it. So I'm just going to make a lemon balm infused honey, and so you can go watch my video about lemon balm in the wild and tinctures and elixirs, but this one's just straight up honey. And now what I've gone ahead and done is stripped all of the stems away. Oh, I guess I've stripped all the leaves off the stem. There you go. And so I'm left with just all of this leaf and some bloom heads in here, because let's face it, it's the end of the year. This is last call for garden lemon balm. All the stuff in the wild by now in most places is just beyond use, but you know, that garden lemon balm, she's getting a little bit more attention, more water, getting trimmed back, so she puts up more shoots. You know, she lives a little longer. I wouldn't say she's quite as potent medicinally. Like, she's the same, has the same medicinal properties, but those plants that grow in the wild, I'm telling you, they're a little tougher, they're a little stronger, they have a little higher volatile levels, because, you know, they're having to survive out there without, you know, humankind tending to them, so they're just a little tougher. So basically all I'm going to do is put my lemon balm leaf in my jar. I'm not going to worry about chopping it up. I mean, you could, but it's going to extract just fine. I'm going to fill my jar a little over half up, not packing it down. And then I'm going to take my raw honey and I'm going to dump it over top. And it's a little chilly, so I probably should have put this honey on a low setting in my oven, like the lowest setting, and had it in there for like 20-30 minutes, because then it would strain down through the bottom better. And again, just like if you watched my sumac berry, my staghorn sumac video, I didn't learn this lesson last time either. I'm used to it being summer, so but it's no big deal if you don't put it in the oven. That just helps it run to the bottom better. Basically, all you're going to do to make an infused herbal honey, and it's best if you're using fresh plants, you're going to put, you know, about half the jar full of your fresh plant matter, and you're going to dump honey over top. It doesn't have to be raw, but raw is pretty cool. And then what's going to happen is you're going to lick the honey off your finger. This lemon balm will start to be extracted by the honey. The cool thing about honey is she does have the ability to extract things, just like, say, vodka does. She won't be extracting out your alcohol soluble properties at first. Now, this is why we want to use fresh plant matter when possible when making an infusion of honey, because what's going to happen is, so this honey content's probably, I don't know, 15% water, maybe a little lower. I'm not a beekeeper by any means, but I do know that honey, once it has about 25% or higher water content, starts to ferment. Now, if you are a beekeeper and you've got honey, you know, that's not a good thing. You don't want your honey fermenting on you, turning into mead, unless you meant for it to happen. However, when we're making an infused honey, it's really cool, because what will happen is the honey is going to extract the moisture out of this lemon balm. The lemon balm and her medicinal properties, which are contained in her water-soluble properties, get where I'm going here, will thin out the honey and she will begin to ferment. And when she ferments, do you know what happens? Alcohol is created, albeit it's an extremely, extremely low level. It's not quite the same as making a tincture, but she will begin to extract some of those alcohol-soluble properties. However, you need to be mindful to burp your jar every day or test it. You see how that's clicking like that? When it can't click like that, it full-on means that it's pressurized with the gases from fermentation. So if you are into fermentation or you live by a fermentation store and you don't want to worry about having to burp it so your jar doesn't blow up, usually with the honey, it doesn't really blow up. It usually just like the bottom cracks out and then, you know, you've got a really sticky mess on your hands. I've had that happen before. You can go get one of those like airlock things that's meant for like fermenting vegetables that lets air out, you know, on its own through like a little water lock or a little bubble thing. There's all kinds of different ways. Basically, you want to let air out but not air in. And then all you're going to do is let it sit for about 6 weeks, up to 8 weeks, and then you are going to strain out your lemon balm from your honey. At this point in time, do remember to stick your jar in the oven. You know, 20-30 minutes on the lowest setting. You're just getting it warmed up. And then you're going to strain it through a mesh. And the reason you want to warm it up is because when honey is really warm, it runs just as, like, almost like water. Versus when it's slow because it's cold. And we're definitely coming into winter at the moment. So warming it up is helpful. If it's summertime when you're watching this video and you're making a lemon balm tincture, your honey's probably warm enough to flow pretty well. But so it's really cool because you can make like an instant tea. Once you've infused this, you can take a tablespoon or two and, you know, put it in a cup of hot water and bam, you can take it for sore throat. She's good. She's antiviral. She's good for your stomach because she is in the mint family and she's a sedative too, like a nervine. Like she will calm you down. Lemon balm is great for anxiety, panic attacks, insomnia, things like that. There is one more step that's a little bit more complicated, but it's important to know. So this is going to be fermenting because it's just the plant material and the honey. And fermentation in jars explodes. I can't tell you how many times herbalists have made infused, you know, honey or apple cider vinegar or something like that, and then they've decanted it, bottled it, and sent it somewhere, and somebody's bottle explodes on them. Again, it usually doesn't like, you know, because it's such a thick substance. Usually the bottle just cracks and it gets really messy. You can stop that so easily from happening. So you can either use a double boiler or you can make your own ghetto double boiler, which is where you take a pot of simmering water, like a spaghetti pot, and you put a metal bowl inside of that pot that completely covers the top of the pot, you know? So it like makes like a lid basically. You pour your honey into that bowl and then you turn the water on underneath of it to a simmer. It will bring the honey in the top of the bowl, or a double boiler if you actually have one, up in temperature. You want to heat this to about 170 or 200 degrees Fahrenheit. You're like, how do I know? Do you have a meat thermometer? If you have a meat thermometer or a candy thermometer, you can get those for cheap at like Wally World. You can get one for like $4 or $5, and they're handy to have around for cooking anyways if you don't have one. And then you know what that does when you heat it up? First of all, you'll start seeing a little bit of foam on the top. Go away, moth. You'll see a little bit of foam on the top, and you can scoop that foam off. And what that foam off is actually, let me calm myself down. It's been a long day. What that foam actually is the water content simmering out. Anybody who's ever made, like, I don't know, canned tomatoes or made jam or made hard crack candy knows what I'm talking about. And then what happens is it gets concentrated again, so it makes it a little bit more potent, but it kills off the yeast. So this is how like a lot of wine is made. How do they stop wine from fermenting? Well, they either use a chemical or they heat treat it, meaning you heat it up to about 200 degrees, 170, 200 degrees, and it kills the yeast that are causing the fermentation. You'll still have all the good probiotic and prebiotic substances going on from the fermentation process. You will have just made it shelf stable to where it halts fermentation. Now, if you don't want to do that, if you're using raw honey and you're like, I don't want any heat involved at all, and you make this, I want you to keep it in the fridge. That'll halt fermentation too. Cold will stop it in its tracks. I mean, it'll still slightly occur, but it won't occur enough that it's going to break the bottle on you. So that probably sounded complicated, maybe even a little bit intimidating, but don't worry, because you're smart enough, okay? You are totally smart enough to put some lemon balm in a jar or whatever fresh herb you're using, pour some raw honey or whatever honey you can get over top of it, put a cap on it, make sure to be checking every day that you can click that lid, and when you can't click that lid, you just do this and let the gas off and go about your day. And then you're smart enough to stick this, you know, even if you don't, so maybe you don't want to make a double boiler. Okay, take this jar, make sure it's a mason jar so it's rated for heat. Put it into a pot of water, a tall pot, a big soup pot, where the water's like coming up to here on it, and start simmering that water with the lid off. You can still get in there and scoop off the foam. It'll still get up to 170, 200 degrees Fahrenheit in this honey, and then you can take it off the heat and then let it slowly cool, and you will have halted your fermentation. So I think that you're smart enough to do that. I don't just... That was a really loud motorcycle. That's crazy. Sounds like there's a couple of them. I don't just think you're smart enough to do this. I know you're smart enough to do this. And then you've got yourself some instant infused honey for making, you know, instant tea, or just taking it as is. You could even drizzle it over your ice cream if you want to. I don't care. I mean, you know, we all eat ice cream now and then. It doesn't mean we can't sweeten it with something better for us. But anyhow, if you like my impromptu videos with, you know, horrible lighting and you know, motorcycles going by and me just being a real human and real human elements, make sure that you subscribe and turn on notifications by clicking the little bell below on the right hand side of your screen, and then make sure to like and comment. It lets me know that I'm being heard, that you're here with me. It also helps other people find me, because it bumps me up in the, you know, the almighty algorithm. And then come find me on Instagram, come find my website. I work really, really hard to give out as much free, safe, simple herbal medicine know-how as possible, because I believe that it's really important that we take our health back into our own hands. And I don't think you should have to, you know, only be the privileged who can afford thousands of dollars to learn. I think this should be available to everybody, no matter your financial status. So, you know, no knowledge held hostage for the sake of profit, people. Anyhow, so thanks for watching, and I will see you next time, okay? Bye.